All right. Welcome everybody, person on the line, to the sixth and last class of this series. So this class sort of wants to wrap everything up, everything we learned the past few weeks. It also really circles back to the first class that says, well, we don't want to dwell on death. That's counterproductive, that's depressing, but we said death informs life. At the end of the day, knowing that we have only a limited amount of time, that's what gives a kick, okay, to appreciate our time here and focus on what we're supposed to do. We're going to speak about that more at length. We begin with an exercise. We're on page 210. We have an exercise, and we want to know, did we accomplish our goal in taking away at least some of the fear of death, learning more about death? Okay, it's exercise 6.1. It says, you have almost completed the journey to Judaism's approach to death, afterlife, reincarnation. That was an awesome class last week. Take a moment to identify 3 ways that the perspectives we gain can influence one's life and its daily realities. Let's take a few minutes for that one. Not gonna let you think about it. You don't want to write it down.
Can I paraphrase? I don't really understand. Take the perspective we gain.
So, how 3 ways, write 3 ways that what we studied changes your life.
Okay.
You guys are ready? Ellie needs more time?
Maybe. No, it's.
Does anybody want to share some of the things that are?
Like, I'm not sure I have 3 meaningful things to say right now.
1,
Maybe 1.
and you don't have to share, only if you want.
And by meaningful, I mean for me, not for everyone.
It's very subjective.
I'd say 2 things that I noticed. One would be the connection to people who passed away.
Right.
Connection that we maintain or will maintain. And from the reincarnation, I took that you keep coming back until you're done with your mission.
Right on. How does that influence your life, though? That was the question. How does?
That's what I still have to think about.
Right on. Okay, fair enough. Alex, want to share something? You don't have to?
But I'd like to try. And so, what I retain is that death is not the end. And you will always have the chance to fulfill your mission after your death. Your soul will be able to return to fulfill the mission, which is make less distressful mistakes of present life and give strength to keep going, even with something done terribly wrong. And you always get a chance to end up at a cow and
In Montana.
eliminate
In Montana.
yes. And eliminate
You're gonna be a cow anywhere. I guess Montana is a place to be.
Yes.
Or Buenos Aires, but not.
depends on
Anywhere where it's grass fed, you are
Free range, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
That's when the meat in South America is so good. Anyway, I don't get commissioned, so we could move on to a different topic. The things though, Alex, I would say is that never forget that it's never too late to fix things up during this lifetime, right? You don't have to wait to another lifetime.
Yeah.
You know that.
Well, if it's possible.
So in other words, we don't say, well, it's too late. It's never too late, right? We could always fix things up while the soul's still in the body. So it's thank you for sharing. You want to share, Jennifer?
I said it taught me to be less fearful of death, just accepting of it, realizing it's gonna happen, and to enjoy present day more so. Like trying to do things every day that are good, and not take any day for granted because you don't know when you have.
Right on. So we're going to speak about some of the things that you guys said. Vanya, you want to share something?
Oh, what did I learn about that, right?
Yeah, how the things we learned is going to change your life, influence your life.
I would say that this is not the end of a journey. It's only like one step. So you should look at it as one step. It is okay like to cry. And I'm really glad that there's like this thing that even though like a person moves on and like you always say that he's gone to a better place and all this stuff, but he's no longer with us. She doesn't matter. So this person is no longer with us. We need to cry, but it's also important to move on and to understand that there is the reason why you stay here is because you have something to achieve.
Okay, what you're saying is that death is not the end, so don't be too dramatic. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's okay to be sad for a while.
That's right. Something else that we're going to touch upon what you said, Vanya, that yes, it doesn't mean that death is wonderful. It's always difficult for the people that are left behind. But the focus is really, we spoke about ourselves and the journey of the soul, right? That's the name of the course, the journey of the soul. That's exactly what we're here to do. And we acknowledge many times that yes, it's tremendously painful for the family left behind, and nobody wants to experience that if we have a choice. Okay, so let's continue. Thank you everybody for sharing. And so we're about to do the second exercise. And I guess small recap is that lesson 1 we spoke about the journey of the soul, what happens to the soul leaves the body, what is the soul, who is the real me. And again, the goal, of course, is to become less fearful of death, understanding the process. And the goal is that you could stare your mortality in the face and say, it's a fact that we're all going to die, hopefully after a long and happy and healthy life. That allows us to have a better life. That's what we're going to speak about at the beginning of today's class. And so if that's the case, we have the next exercise on page 211, exercise 6.2. Can you identify any benefits to occasionally contemplating our own mortality? Right? We don't want to get obsessed. You don't want to think about it all the time, but it's important, even healthy, to think once in a while, occasionally, that we're going to die one day. PowerPoint along. This recap from lesson 1, really, that the soul is the real me and is eternal. The body is a temporary container for the soul, and the soul experiences great pleasure back in its native habitat in the spiritual realms. You guys need some more time, or good to go? Good to go? Okay. Anybody want to share their answers for this one?
The three things that they wrote down is 1, do things in a timely manner, not to wait because any second can be the last one. So just put your affairs in order. Don't leave mess behind you. Have the right perspective, meaning kind of differentiating the things that are important and unimportant, and just fix relationships with other people because you never know when is the last time you said it.
Right. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
Yes. So contemplating all mortality gives us connection, tie up our life to time, and therefore helps us to feel eternity and connect us to God because God is infinite, and it helps us feel the mission of our life, find it, and therefore it will help us to do the right choices in our life and make our path right, straight.
Right. Similar to what Ellie was saying. Very good.
They covered it. Both the answers were with the mirrors.
Cool. Vanya, you want to share something else?
I don't really know what to say.
Can you identify any benefit to occasionally contemplating our own mortality?
No, I understand the question.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say is, in order to understand what it's like, you need to understand where it's starting. It's not a good example. I don't really know how to explain it.
Okay, so you need to think about it.
Because you know that your time is limited, you will value your life much more.
Right on. Yes. Absolutely. Totally. So, let's continue here. Okay, interestingly, so mental health has really evolved in the last few years in the sense that positive psychology is relatively new. Mental health psychology was focused on healing mental illness instead of focused on boosting positive mental health. Understand? Right, we spoke the first class, terror management theory. Now positive psychology is gaining more momentum. And what they see is that actually thinking about our mortality, that research shows that there are positive effects. Text number 1 on page 211. This is from a professor and psychologist, Robin Walser. And so she is a big proponent of positive psychology, more specifically big proponent of acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, which aims to help people cope with difficulties and trauma. Ellie asked you to please read text number 1. Again, really keep in mind this is the psychological, scientific source. We're going to focus on Torah sources in the next few pages.
There is no exercise or reflection. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, that sounds more dramatic.
Yeah. There is no exercise or reflection as potent, perhaps, as contacting one's ending. In confronting our own passing, we're better able and more willing to help others to see the power of awareness of that which is inevitable, death, helping us to wake up to the tender colors of life and personal creation. In contemplating our own end, we recognize that there is still time for life in whatever time is left. Values are there to be lived until that last inevitable moment. To acknowledge this is freeing.
Thank you, Eli. So that's the point. I think the second paragraph is the punchline, at least to me, right? So contemplate our own end, recognizing there's still time for life in whatever time is left. In other words, it's not depressing, it's empowering, right? Good news and bad news, right? The good news is it's in your hands. The bad news is that it's up to you. Like, you have to give yourself a kick in the pants to do what you're supposed to do, right? Naturally, we're lazy. We don't want to do, we don't want to execute, we just want to do what's easy, inertia, the status quo, do what's within our comfort zone. Yeah, well, it's only up to us to change that and to have a meaningful life, to do amazing things. Something that pushes some people is the concept of a legacy. They want to leave something behind, right? They want to accomplish something that transcends life and it's not affected by death. On a bigger scale, you know, these rich people, they donate these big buildings that carry their name, so whatever happens, their name, the legacy, the family name continues on through their charitable acts. But it's also smaller things, right? That's just a very clear example. But passing of certain values to your family, it's also your legacy. It doesn't have to be a big flashy thing that for the whole world to see. Now we're going to speak about the Jewish view on contemplating our own mortality. This is a very interesting text, what's coming up here. So we have text 2a, text 2b. Text 2a is a quote from Psalms, and then 2b is the Talmud explaining this quote, not in its literal way. If you remember, we had last class as different levels of interpreting the Torah. So this is not the literal way to read it, but still gives us something fascinating. Jennifer, if you could please read both text 2a and 2b.
Be agitated and do not sin. Verbalize within your hearts, upon your beds, and be forever silent. We should always agitate our good inclination against our evil inclination. As it is stated, be agitated and do not sin. If this vanquishes the evil inclination, all is good, but if not, we should occupy ourselves with Torah study. As it is stated, verbalize Torah teachings until they enter within your hearts. If this vanquishes it, all is good, but if not, we should recite the Shema, and it is stated upon your beds. If this vanquishes it, all is good, but if not, we should remind ourselves of the day of death, as it is stated, and be forever silent.
Thank you. So you see how the Talmud broke up that verse, piece by piece? It's in order. So Talmud says this teaching has to do with your evil inclination, the person is tempted to sin, is having inappropriate thoughts. So there's step by step. To get rid of it, try first, occupy yourself in studying Torah. That doesn't work, say the Shema. Shema is a very basic Jewish prayer in which we assert the oneness of God. That doesn't work. What's option C? Think about the day of death. Now, interestingly, thinking about the day of death is the last option in the Talmudic passage, right? If it's the most efficient, it's the strongest medicine, why isn't it mentioned first? So one of the great commentators says that's because it's good, it works, but you can't rely on it every day. You can't think about death every day. That's depressing. That's going to stop you from life. That's the last resource. First you try this, you try that. That doesn't work, then think about the day of death. But don't use it on a regular basis. It's too powerful. I'm sure that's a good analogy about other things, but I'm not a doctor.
No,
You came up with a good?
I know a person who for 10 years was waking up with, I cannot believe God didn't take me at night, and went to sleep saying, I hope I don't wake up.
That's awful.
Yeah, that's awful. I know a new person.
But the very first thing that you wake up, you're thankful for your returning.
Hopefully.
Yes, no, I'm.
It is.
That's really sad. I hope they got the help they needed. No, okay.
That's part of the character.
I'm nobody to judge. I'm saying it's clearly not a healthy thing.
No, it
Right?
was not very healthy.
It could be
was driving-
he had a lot of
and
trauma.
it was driving everyone pretty mad.
I'm sure.
So that's like the thinking of that is not always, I guess, helpful. That's why. It's
No, not like that.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
I guess it's like
It's
cool shower helps you.
Right? I'll wait for you.
Flip them around.
Yeah, flip them around the timer for 18 minutes. Yeah, thank you. I thought I was supposed to take care of the obviously didn't. Last week the timer beep. I'm not the one to do it. It's a great joke. So Bill and Randy, lifelong friends, they always go to the state fair, and Randy always wanted to ride. They have these like plane rides. I guess it's I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour, like propeller planes, smaller plane, and you pay a few bucks. You get in the, you get a bit of a ride. So Randy always wanted to go. Bill said, you know what? It costs $10, and $10 is $10, and this happens every year, right? They go to the state fair. Randy wants to ride in the plane. Bill says, listen, it would be great, but it's $10 and $10. When Randy turns 80, he says, that's it. This year, we are going on the plane ride. Bill says, it costs $10. $10. The pilot overheard him and he says, listen, I'll take you for free. If you make a peep, I'm going to charge you $10. If you stay completely quiet, it's free. Thank you. Says, no problem, deal. So they get on the plane, takes off. The pilot does all sorts of pirouettes and flips and things in the sky. They land, and the pilot says, whoa, I'm really surprised. Like, you guys did not say a word, not a peep after everything I did. And Randy says, Randy says, I was going to say something when Bill fell out of the plane, but $10 is $10. That's good. Okay. Also sort of fits for the class. Okay. So contemplating our eventual death does help us prioritize, remain focused on what's important. That's something that's everybody here said that on their own. We have a video here. It's really cool, actually. A story of Alfred Nobel. So, right, he was the Nobel Prizes come from him. He's the one that invented the dynamite. Anyway, I don't want to ruin the story. You'll see it in the video. Oh, I forgot to mention this. There's an app called We Croak. The app sends you. It's as dark as it sounds. The app sends you 5 reminders a day that you're going to die. This is not a joke. This is a real app.
Oh, that's nice. Hopefully it's not free.
Yeah, well, by coming to this class, you get it for free. No. It costs 99 cents. I think it's American, so it's like $1.30 or $1.40. And you can get 5 reminders a day that you're going to die. And I think everyone can see the screen. Vanya, you see the screen?
Yeah.
You see you're also going to die? I'm just kidding. After a long and happy life. So, I cannot believe it, but it's a thing. All right, we're up to here. Benefits of contemplating mortality, and then afterwards we have the video about Alfred Nobel. Avoid foolish mistakes. Seize and embrace every moment. Live life more fully. Life is more meaningful, not just functional. Here we go.
Dynamite, from the ancient Greek term for power, is a potent material indeed. But a person can hardly encounter a more powerful motivator to plan for his day of death than the opportunity to read his own obituary in the media. Alfred Nobel was a 19th century Swedish chemist and engineer with 350 different patents. He owned 90 factories that manufactured armaments and was the inventor of dynamite. His brothers Ludwig and Robert Nobel were tycoons with oil fields along the Caspian Sea. Alfred invested in his brother's enterprise and he grew ever wealthier. Then, in 1888, Ludwig Nobel died suddenly while on a visit to Cannes, France. The passing of one of the Nobel magnates was exceptionally newsworthy. In their haste to hammer out the headlines, the French newspapers misidentified the deceased, mistakenly reporting that Alfred Nobel had died. Alfred was shocked to read of his own passing. He was deeply disturbed at the far from flattering obituaries. Bold black headlines screamed, "The Merchant of Death is dead." The fine print was no better. Dr. Alfred Nobel, who became rich by finding ways to kill more people faster than ever before, died yesterday. Alfred was sobered by an experience afforded few. Is this how I will be remembered when my time comes, he wondered? Will I be forever tainted as the Merchant of Death? Historians speculate that Alfred, determined to improve his genuine obituary by improving his lasting effect on humanity, took steps while still hale and hearty to ensure that mankind would remember him as an everlasting contributor to the advance of civilization and quality of life. On November 27, 1895, Alfred Nobel signed his last will and testament, designating 94% of his vast fortune to the creation of the Nobel Prizes. To this day, his name is synonymous with the advance of science, medicine, literature, and world peace. All it took to transform a merchant of death into an angel of progress and peace was a moment of serious reflection on mortality and its consequences.
That was nice, no?
Yes, it is. I don't know the story.
You didn't know the story? Wait. What's going on here? It's another video now.
I mean, I knew that he wanted to change his image because, yes, he was known as the
Merchant of Death.
Weapons of
That, but I didn't know the obituary story.
Yeah. His brother died and they confused him for his brother. There's something I wanted to add. Oh yes, what I wanted to add is that when he invented dynamite, it wasn't for killing people; it was for construction. You know,
Right.
for mountains, whatever. Like it was not meant for killing. I don't know though. I need to corroborate if during his lifetime he changed directions. Like if already during his lifetime he was making weapons to kill. That I don't know. But definitely was not the beginning of dynamite. Okay. So we all know where we're going, but once in a while we need a reminder, right? Kick in the pants. We said we can't think about death all the time. It's depressing. It's counterproductive. Once in a while we need the reminder. Why do we need the reminder? Because we get caught up in other things. We're busy. We have bills to pay, family to take care of. We have a job. We have all sorts of things, self-indulgence, and things we enjoy doing, and we forget about what's important. Once in a while, we kick ourselves. Okay, refocus. Have a limited amount of time. What do you want to spend it on? You guys know what YOLO is? YOLO? Yes, stands for?
You only live once.
You only live once. Very popular today. I only saw it during COVID. I don't know if, I think it's very recent. Like I just remember in 2020 during COVID, it was like very popular amongst the young generation. You only live once. And together with YOLO, you have the bucket list, things that people want to make sure to do before they kick the bucket, before they pass away. The Jewish view is a polar opposite of YOLO and the bucket list. How so? Because YOLO says, well, you only live once. Bucket list, you want to make sure you get all these things in because you're going to die. So essentially, we say, well, nothing has any meaning. So do whatever you want, enjoy as much as you can. Jewish view, we say, because our time is limited, everything you do is significant. So you don't just go around partying, right? This is what we are working on now, right, for the past number of weeks, to have a healthy approach to that. Not to be depressed, not to be scared, but we want to have that in the back of our minds to keep us focused. They have now a second video, a video meditation. It's very nice. I'm gonna put it on here. Oh, come on. Is it gonna play for me?
For our meditation reflection for this final lesson of the Journey of the Soul course, we're going to take a meditation straight from our sages, from Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of the Fathers, which tells us to meditate upon three things. Imagine, if you will, that there's an eye that sees, an ear that hears, and all of your deeds are written in a book. Now, that's something that for centuries would have taken imagination. But in our day and age, it doesn't take any imagination at all. Because we know that everything is seen, heard, and recorded. What we're going to do now is imagining ourselves at the end of our lives in the editing room, so to speak, with all the footage, all of the film, all of the recordings, every moment of our lives. It's there for review, to rewatch, to relive. Imagine yourself now looking back through your life, watching the real-time movie of every single second. See yourself in every place where you've been, every person you've ever met, even if you pass them in an elevator for 5 seconds. And now, let's start to edit and form our highlight film. And of course, what does a highlight film mean? Now that the soul has left the body, the highlights are not which restaurants I ate at or where I went on vacation. The soul now has moved on from the body. The highlights are, what good did I do in this world? Who did I love? Who did I help? Start to imagine your life. Start to reflect on the real highlight film. Those small fleeting moments that were over in seconds, but last forever. Who did you affect? Who did you help? How did you make the world a better place? And now realize that we're not editing just yet. We're still filming. We're still making the movie. Imagine yourself now, you're still filming the movie. Visualize it. You're in the director's chair. What scene will you direct? Take a moment to visualize and reflect.
So the next section is called your money or your time, which of course is reminiscent of the famous comedy skit. Guy's getting mugged in Manhattan. The robber says, "Your money or your life?" But the guy doesn't react. "You didn't hear me? Your money or your life?" The guy says, "I'm thinking." So that was such an easy answer to give. What do you prefer? So what do you guys value more? Your time or your money? Alex?
It's a good question. Because obviously there's a time.
You value it more?
Time definitely value more.
To you it's more valuable than money.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you live your life that way? Do you live your life that way?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I never do things that I don't want to do for money, for people I don't want to do.
Very good. So even if it's a lot of money, you wouldn't do it if you don't feel it's worth it.
Absolutely not.
You wouldn't sacrifice your soul. You wouldn't sell your soul, so to speak,
No.
just to make money.
No.
Right on. Jennifer, you wanna?
I pick time. I just see spending time with those you love, and having good moments in life is more valuable than money at the end of the day. You can't buy family, you can't buy friends, but if you have time to spend with them, that's way more valuable in my opinion.
And do you actually follow through with your opinion?
Yeah, I try to as much as I can.
Very cool. So you guys passed the test. Ellie, want to share something?
Yeah. No, of course, time is more important.
But do you live that way? The question is, yeah, we all know, most normal people know that time is more important, but are we living that way?
As much as my circumstances allow me.
Trying to balance, right?
Yes, I can take all the time I need, but there's
Won't have a job.
the reality of life is that at a certain point I cannot call Newfoundland Power and say, you know what, can I pay you
With my goodwill.
with 5 minutes of my time?
Well, if you go work for Newfoundland Power.
Yes, but
Yeah, but
They will say no, at least 10 hours.
Yes.
5 minutes is for coffee.
maybe not even that.
everybody else gets the coffee for free. You for calling out to work for the coffee.
Yes. So, but yes, of course, that's at least I'm trying.
You're talking about something very important. In other words, we all have to work to make money, to live, to support a family, etc., etc., etc. The question, that's not the question. Like, nobody's saying quit your job. The question is what happens when we come back home. Because I know, and this is full disclosure, I love spending time by myself, okay? I'm an extreme introvert. You won't believe it, I know, but I'm an extreme introvert. Spending time with people drains my energy. Thank you all. No, I'm serious. Spending time with people drains me, okay? Usually after spending time with people, I feel drained, I feel tired. My wife, she feels invigorated. Again, don't get me wrong, I like spending time with people, but it's very draining. It takes a lot of energy from me. You can relate to this?
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, I know this is being recorded. I'm gonna skip the details here because it's being recorded, but a close relative of mine just shared this with me, the same thing. It's like, oh, you know, the weekend comes, my friends invite me to go out. I was like, I have no energy. I'm like, really? I just discovered this thing about myself. I only discovered this a few years ago, by the way. But yeah, that being around people, socializing really drains me. Why did I share that? I don't remember. Oh, because I said because I like spending time by myself. So in other words, what we're saying is the time that you could spend doing things that are more emotional, not to do with money, like you don't have to be working then, what are you spending it on? There's a question.
So the quantity is not so valuable like quality. Might be like 5 minutes per kiss, but it will be 5 minutes that they will remember all their life.
Sure.
And
I flew to New York 2 weeks ago, so you guys know. For some reason, I don't know the numbers, but it seems like every person I look at that I could see their phone, they're on TikTok, they're watching video after video.
yeah, it's
And I'm sure it's a lot of fun, like it's very entertaining. Like, you know, I waste time, but in different ways. Let's face it, I think we all waste time at a certain degree, or whatever. Sometimes I need a break. Everybody needs a break. That's not what we're talking about. But it seems to me that it's been taken to an extreme, and we just mindlessly, not even scrolling. This is just like video after video. This is like different times, different days, different people, and I think it's very insidious and very dangerous. You guys are taking this course, so now of course we know better. Text number 3 is really cool. It's a quote that I had seen many years back, but I didn't know the source. Here they give me the source. This is from Rabbi Shimon Frankfurter, who lived in Germany in the 17th century. He's not particularly well known, but this quote of his it was written down by his son, who wrote down his father's teachings. I'm sorry. His son published his father's teachings. He didn't write it. I'm sorry. So he was born in Germany in Schwerin, and then he relocated to Amsterdam, where he served as a rabbi and an advisor to the Jewish Burial Society. So he wrote a lot about that. Text number 3, I'll read it. Folks fret over a lost dime and fail to fret over lost time. But money provides no reprieve, while time is impossible to retrieve. In Hebrew also it rhymes. I'll read it in Hebrew. Adam doeg al libud damav ve'eno doeg al libud yamav. Damav einam mozrim, yamav einam chasrim. They translate it really well in English, actually, making it rhyme. Eli could appreciate that. Good translation. It means the same thing, but the rhyme is not there. Anyway, the point is that we all worry about our money, but money comes and goes. Time we take for granted, and that we can't get back. Now, if you had a choice, you could either waste a day or pay $1,000. What would you do? Just spend a day doing whatever you want, not working, just TikTok, I don't know, whatever is your version of TikTok. The point is wasting, right? We're not speaking of doing something productive.
What is waste?
Just in your bed. The question is, what do you value more? This is the question. You would have to pay $1,000 or waste a day. In other words, would you pay $1,000 to waste a day?
No, not
It's a lot of money, right?
waste. No, I would not pay for waste of a day. I would pay to have a day and that I can do something.
Very good. Though we all know that we waste a lot of time. We just don't think about it in these terms. We don't usually monetize our time. We don't think about the value of our time. So, for example, not somebody like Alex is very handy, but let's say I decide that the TV breaks, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna fix the TV myself. I'm not gonna hire someone. It probably costs $200 at least plus parts to get a technician here, fix the TV. I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm gonna save money. So it's gonna take me at least 10 hours, and hopefully I won't break the TV or anything like that. But let's assume I don't make any mistakes, right? 10 hours of my time costs a lot more than the $200 for the technician.
It all depends whether you want to have this experience, right?
Well, that's something else, correct. It's a very good point. If it's a hobby, if you enjoy doing it, 100%, go ahead. But we're not speaking about that. We're saying this equation, they say, well, I'm going to save money by doing it myself, means because I don't appreciate my time, right? Again, I'm not Alex. Alex will probably do it under.
Well, it all depends on what the subject is. Some things I'd like to do by myself, just because I'd like to have this experience. I don't know.
Very good, but that's what we're speaking about.
Yes, but other things, everybody got to do their own job, their own trade.
The question is, time versus money. And the point is, we don't value our time. We do value our money.
Actually, when I moved here in North America, it was never an issue to work for our hourly rate, right? Always get like a flat rate of a job.
The contract, yeah.
Yeah. And here you revalue it, you think in the terms of the cost of your time. and it's always like you always think in terms of the cost of your hour, right? And
It's something
it's
so
always a race. It's always a race.
something so many years ago. It's to figure out how much your hour is worth, and then you could decide. Do I want to, I don't know, pay somebody to go shopping for me, or do I want to go to Costco, which is 20 minutes each way plus everything else that it entails to go to Costco. I see some of you are nodding, like you know exactly what I mean.
I was there on Sundays
You never go on Sundays.
with 2 kids.
Crazy. Sundays it's like the worst day.
But that's when they have the most, what do you call them, samples.
Oh, that's where people go.
And that's what kids, and that's what my kids like. So that's.
It was entertaining. We bought a huge freezer to make less runs. of
Less trips.
groceries. Like, insanely big. It was, when you're trying to buy somewhere on Temu or AliExpress and you receive smaller thing than you expect. So this was opposite. It was not that big on the picture.
You bought it from Costco?
Yeah.
Okay. See, they always win.
It's like insanely big.
So now you go to Costco more because you want.
Now you have to fill the freezer.
The idea was to girls, my wife and daughter, they obsessed about picking stuff like picking berries. They love it. And berries, mushrooms, and we didn't have a place to store them.
You have to be careful with mushrooms,
I know, but I'm from Belarus, and we got it's in the culture to distinguish.
So you know which ones are
I
not
know
good.
what I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay, cool. You forgot?
Yeah, when we were kids, we used to do it a lot, but now.
Oh.
But it's always, remember when it's season, it's always rape or death from
Yes.
some little mistake.
Somebody always dies, you say.
Always
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, wow.
Everybody has a story about a
They know somebody. that-
neighbor, co-worker
Or
that
near-death experience.
didn't come back from a weekend picking mushrooms.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one.
Yes.
So, bungee jumping. You've done bungee jumping?
Oh, I didn't know.
Bungee?
No bungee, rope jump. It's like bungee, just
You're tied to
it
your
with
chest?
No, it's different way to tie. It's just different technology.
Okay.
That's it. It's not making you jump up and down. It
You
just
don't bounce, okay.
stop you slowly. But this way you experience zero gravity, and this is very nice.
Did you ever try cordless bungee jumping?
Call it bungee jump.
I'm kidding.
I'd like to try once. Every time in scaffolds, I think about it.
Okay, moving along. So text number 4 is also really interesting, fascinating. And so a bit of background here. If you read the book of Genesis, lifespans were very long, and then they became quite short after the flood. There's a lot of commentary on this, why it happened, if it happened, but so text number 4 shines a lot of light into this, that it's not by happenstance that the lifespans became shorter. I read that inside also text number 4. This is from a medrash. This is from a medrash. This is Iranian commentary on the Torah. So it says like this: if not for our fear of the angel of death, what wrongs we would commit against our Father in heaven, against God? Let us learn from the first 10 generations of humanity. God showered them with abundant paradise-like goodness, including centuries-long lifespans, yet they were on the brink of destroying the world. So they had the opposite. They had extremely long lifespans, 900 years, 1,000 years, whatever, not 1,000, under 1,000, 930, 700. But what did they do? They didn't appreciate their time. And our lifespan, right, lifespans today, it is getting longer, but average 80 or so on, we appreciate our time a lot more. We don't have that, long run as they did. So again, it's the death that frames the importance of life. We work backwards. Okay, we spoke about all of this. We have a teaching they didn't bring this inside, but famous teaching in the Pirkei about the ethics of the fathers, one of the tracts of the Mishnah says that you should repent one day before your death. So repent one day before your death. If nobody knows when they're gonna die, well, that's exactly the point. That we should live every day with that. Not the idea, but again, the positive part of it, not the negative, not the one. Oh, I'm gonna die today, but the opposite. Today is the most significant day. It's a famous story, and this is recorded. You can look this up. Roughly 500 years ago, there was a Jew that was sent down into a dungeon by one of the noblemen that owned a lot of land. I don't know what the background was, whether he didn't pay his bills. That it was very common for Jews to rent an inn or land from a nobleman, from a landlord. They own these vast, what do you call it? States. Thank you. Vast estates, like in Poland and Ukraine. If they couldn't pay the rent, which was regardless, they had a good year or bad year, they were either killed or sent to a dungeon. So one of these people, whatever the reason, sent it to the dungeon for life. All right? He pleaded with the nobleman to let him out for some time. And the nobleman somehow agreed to let him out for 1 day every year. Now, he wanted to know, which day should he come out? Should he come out on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the holiest day of the year? Should he come out on Passover, right? It's coming up in a week and a half. Should we come out on Passover so he can celebrate Passover with his family? Should he come out on his birthday? He asked the Radbaz, one of the famous Sephardi rabbis. We quoted him in one of the classes. And the Radbaz answered fascinatingly. He said, you should get out the next day possible. Because every day that you're alive and you can do a mitzvah and observe Judaism, that's the most important day. You don't wait until the day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. Every day is the most important day. Every day they lay you out and you can do the mitzvot, the Judaism you cannot do in the dungeon, you need to get out then. That's the power of meaning of time. Text number 5. This is this text break your heart. This is from written by a boy, young Jewish boy who's diagnosed with cancer when he was 16 and passed away roughly 2 years later. Well, nobody should have such a thing. And he would document his health journey on social media. And after he passed away, somebody published all of his posts, and he drew a lot of international attention because of how much dignity, with how much dignity he took this very difficult journey. So text number 5 is one of his posts. Alex, want to take it away? Text number 5 is on page 217.
I went to the driving range the other day and I was thinking.
That means for golf.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking how you start out with a big bucket of golf balls and you just start hitting away carelessly. You have dozens of them. Each individual ball means nothing to you, so you just hit. One ball goal is particularly inconsequential when subtracted from your bottomless bucket. There are no practice swing or technique revelation after a bad shot because so many more tries remain. Yet eventually you have to reach down toward the bottom of the bucket to the scavenge of another shot and you realize that the tries are running out. Now with just a handful left, each swing becomes more meaningful. The right technique becomes more crucial. So between each shot, you take a couple practice swings and a few deep breaths. There is a very strong need to end on a good note. Even if every preceding shot was horrible, getting it right at the end means a lot. You know, as you tee up your last ball, this is my final shot. I want to crush this with the perfection. I must make this count. Limited qualities of limited time bring a new precious value and significance to anything you do. Life every day shouldn't as if it's your last shot. I know, I have to. I found out today 5-year survival rates are just 30%.
Everybody says it's at the beginning, okay, you think your life is gonna live forever, you think you have infinite amount of balls, you don't care how you shoot, how you swing. And then as you see that the number of balls is going down, your time is limited, you live life very differently. It's amazing to see the maturity of this young boy. We have an exercise, page 218, exercise 6.3, allowing yourself a moment to contemplate between each response. Record 5 meaningful endings to the following statement. Life is too short to ... Take a minute. Vanya, is still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you first to share your 5 things, okay?
Okay.
You're gonna work on it?
Excuse me?
You're gonna work on the, do you have the book with you?
No, I don't.
Oh, did I give you one?
No.
I didn't give you a book?
I was using Dennis.
Oh, I'm so sorry, for some reason I thought you had a book. Okay, so it's not for me then. So Vanya, I'm gonna ask you, you finish that statement, okay? I'm gonna say life is too short to... You finish?
Wasted.
To what?
Wasted.
To waste it, okay, that's one. What else?
Ah, you need a few.
Yeah, total of 5, but yeah, I'll let you go with 3.
Oh, alright. I'm sure to wasted. This is like zone of you get in my head.
Okay, you can think about it, Vanya. I put you on the spot.
I would want to say like to look back, meaning like to rest stuff that you've done instead of like trying to fix it. You know what I mean?
So you shouldn't spend too much time feeling remorse, feeling bad.
Yeah. And I also would say some stuff like to be scared, like means that instead of trying to use an opportunity, you overthink stuff. My grandmother, she used to say that Vanya, you need to like open your window, means that you need to let people in and you need to try to make connections, try to live to the best you can because you will miss out on a lot of opportunities in your life.
Did you listen to her?
Yeah, I try my best.
Okay, that's all you can do. Very good.
Yeah.
So show. Right now. Alex, I see you want to share.
Yeah, it's hard to add.
Breathe on your face.
Yeah, I'm just thinking to what else I can say, but it's pretty much don't regret. Don't do things. For me, is the main thing is don't do things you will not be proud of. Something that just wasted.
Very good. Ellie, you want to share something?
Well, one thing I guess is very relevant to our times is argue with strangers or just meaningless communications with people who have no consequence or they are inconsequential to your life.
So you're not enjoying small talks,
No, one thing is, hey, how's the weather? What do you have? You know, like the
Yeah.
normal.
Very common thing.
Or how person in line in Costco will tell you about the most they have or whatever. I'm talking about mostly like now people go spending hours arguing with people online or
Social
people
media.
they barely know about. And it's mostly about things they have zero influence on.
Okay.
Arguing with strangers about
You mean
tariffs or
comment wars, right?
sorry?
Comment wars.
Comment wars.
Yes,
it's comments or even if it goes into personal messages and stuff like that. It's just no amount of our, let's say we disagree on some policy and we keep argue about it for 10 hours. It has negative, it negatively influences your emotions, the emotions of the other person, and you do nothing that affects that thing that you're arguing about. Right? Unless the argument itself is fun with a friend, but that's rarely the case.
Very good. Jennifer?
I touched on some of the things they did, but as well, I said life is too short to neglect yourself, like your health, doing things you enjoy, that sort of thing.
Right on. Thank you all for sharing. Vanya, you come up with another one?
Excuse me?
You come up with another one?
Oh my god.
Yeah, thank you, think.
As you said, you let me go this free.
I didn't hear 3. I heard 2 from you.
Hold on.
Okay, well, I'll let you go. Okay, at the end of the class, I'll ask you again. How's that? It's a deal? Okay.
Yeah, deal.
Listen to this story. Story about Diamond Island. The story is about a fellow whose name was Shmerel. Shmerel, he was extremely unsuccessful. Everything he started working at didn't go well. Started selling this, selling that. He couldn't make any money. Suddenly, he sees an ad in the paper about Diamond Island. They claim there's diamonds everywhere. And, it's almost like when you get those emails about your Nigerian aunt who died or your French cousin who died and there's a fortune waiting for you. All you have to do is give them your credit card information, social security, and your mother's maiden name. And it sounds like a scam, and guess what? It is a scam. But, Shmerel had nothing to lose, and his wife was losing his patience with this guy who, was saying Yiddish like everything he does doesn't work out. So he gets in touch with the person from Diamond Island, where there's diamonds everywhere. Life there is wonderful, and before he knows it, he is in Diamond Island. He gets there, and it wasn't a scam. There are diamonds everywhere. So he scoops up diamonds from the street, puts into his pockets. He's hungry. He walks into a restaurant. He says, "Oh, finally, I could order like a mensch. I could, really buy what I want. I'm rich. I have all these diamonds." So he orders this. He orders that. And when comes time to pay the bill, which was exorbitant, he says, "No problem," takes out diamonds from his pockets. And the waiter looks at him, it's a little bit uncomfortable. And the guy, Shmerel, says, "What's the problem? Just, take some of the diamonds, keep the extra, keep the change." The waiter says, "Gee, I don't know how to say this, but diamonds here are worthless. Diamonds are everywhere. Anybody could pick diamonds." So Shmerel says, "So what's the currency here? Like, the euro, what do you have?" She says, "Well, here the currency is chicken schmaltz. Schmaltz is fat, chicken fat." So it says, "Okay, I don't have any chicken fat to pay you with." So the waiter calls the manager. The waiter doesn't know what to do. The manager says, "Okay, come work in the kitchen until you pay off your bill." Okay. What would you know? Shmerel, who failed at everything in his life, was great in the kitchen. And he slowly moved up the ranks in the restaurant until he bought the restaurant. Then he opened up a second restaurant on the other end of the island. He bought real estate until he made so much chicken fat, that was the currency, that he was ready to sell all of his assets and go back home with his family. Now he's rich. So he loads up ships and ships and ships with chicken fat. And you could imagine that with the heat of the sun, fat started to rot and give a very foul smell. Shmuel didn't care, he was rich. So he comes back and he says, honey, look at this, we're rich. She says, you fool, you forgot to bring back diamonds. What's the allegory? What's the message of the story?
They're focusing too much on the money and not on the time.
We lose track. We were sent down here to collect diamonds. But we get distracted and instead we collect schmaltz, chicken fat. What are we here for? To the mitzvahs, to study Torah, to do good deeds. But we get distracted, the iPhone, the this, the TikTok, and we're collecting chicken schmaltz. The story just has a very stark contrast. If you realize that every opportunity you had to connect to gold was a diamond, you would never give it up. You would never go for the opposite. You would never go for the chicken schmaltz. The problem is that we don't see it that way. Part of the story. Now, there are more texts here, but we're not going to do them. Instead, we're going to finish this class here, and we're going to do a review of all of the classes, including this one. If you remember, at the end of every class, there was a summary or key point summary, whatever. So we're going to go through all of the video summaries of all the classes, and then we're going to do the one for this class. All right? Let's do it. I have to change the different PowerPoint. To time. Not this. Join. Note. This.
Lesson 1. Demystifying death. 1. The awareness of our mortality and the resulting natural fear of death influence many elements of our psyche, behavior, and life choices. Our perspective on death influences multiple areas of our lives. 2. The neshama, human soul, the true essence of the human being, is eternal. It precedes the body and continues to exist after the body is gone. While still in heaven, it does not desire to descend into a body, and when the time of death arrives, it resumes its native spiritual state. 3. The fact that the briefest spiritual experience of the next world is more pleasurable than all of this world does not diminish the reality that even a brief stay in this world is more important than all of the next. Therefore, Jewish law gives precedence to preserving life over nearly every mitzvah. 4. This perspective allows us to appreciate and value life without fear of death. 5. While our corporeal needs and endeavors die with the body, our soul-focused aspirations and actions live on eternally. Thus, when we live and identify with eternal values, our current life continues even after the body's demise.
So it's lesson 1. We're going to move on to lesson 2.
Lesson 2. Taking leave. 1. Nefesh and Ruach are two of the soul's components. After death, the Nefesh remains with the body, while the Ruach disengages and ascends to Gan Eden, paradise. 2. Once the Ruach is no longer limited to material existence, it's more accessible to all who wish to connect to it. Thus, when a person dies, our ability to spiritually connect with him or her is stronger and deeper than before. 3. Though the Nefesh remains in the grave, it retains a connection with the higher levels of the soul. The gravesite is thus a portal where we can communicate with departed souls and ask them to intercede before God on our behalf. 4. Over the course of a lifetime, the soul and body integrate and bond. Their separation at death is therefore painful for the soul. 5. The soul departs the body in stages. These stages correspond to the prescribed periods of mourning. When we mourn, we are mourning not only for the deceased, but also with the deceased. 6. Dignity and sensitivity are the underlying principles that guide the care of a corpse and its preparation for burial. This is because even after death, the body retains its special status of having been the container for the soul. 7. Burial is of highest priority in Jewish tradition and culture. When God takes a person's soul, we are tasked to return the body to the place from which God fashioned it. 8. Burial affirms two fundamental Jewish beliefs. A. Our bodies aren't ours, they belong to God. And B. There will be a resurrection of the dead in the Messianic era.
So was that you? You know, when you come back home, you know, like everybody left and they come back and say hello, anybody home, and you know, you don't want to hear a response.
Lesson 3. The mourning after. 1. Everyone reacts to the focus with grief differently. No two people are psychologically alike, and no two circumstances of death and bereavement are the same. 2. It is a mitzvah to mourn the loss of a loved one. Processing the loss is critical to the healing process, and this is accomplished by Shiva, a mandatory period of grieving. 3. The Torah validates and encourages mourning, but only for a prescribed period of time, after which the mourner is enjoined to transition to normal life. 4. Some ideas that give a mourner the strength to move on. A. The knowledge that the soul lives on and is not diminished by death. B. It is never too late to mend or improve our relationship with the deceased. Though our physical relationship has ended, we can still give him or her spiritual gifts. C. Life is a deposit, and God decides when to give it and when it must be returned. D. For this soul and its unique mission, this constituted a full life. 5. It is a mitzvah to comfort mourners. The most basic principle of comforting a mourner is simply being there. Our presence offers comfort and lessens the loneliness that often accompanies mourning. Lesson 4. Where we go. 1. God's rewards and punishments are natural consequences of our actions. 2. When we do mitzvot, we forge an intimate relationship with God. In the afterlife, our souls experience the effects of our actions, our relationship with God. This is the greatest possible pleasure, and is also known as paradise. God. 3. At times, a soul cannot enter paradise immediately, for its inappropriate actions in this world diminished its capacity to experience spiritual pleasures. Gehenna, a painful yet cleansing process, is temporary. Every soul ultimately reaches paradise. 4. In Gan Eden, the soul constantly ascends to higher levels. Good deeds performed in a person's memory, including the recital of Kaddish, elevate the soul to higher levels that it cannot attain on its own. 5. What we do here and now is more important than the pleasures or pain of the afterlife. Living in order to receive rewards in the next world, or to avoid heavenly punishment, distracts our focus from where it belongs. increasing goodness and godliness in this world. Lesson 5. Where we go again. 1. Adam possessed the Jewish master soul that ultimately branched out into the 600,000 souls that received the Torah at Mount Sinai. All subsequent Jewish souls are offshoots of these soul roots. 2. The 600,000 primary souls were each given a part of the world to perfect through fulfillment of the 613 mitzvot. When a soul accomplishes its mission, it itself also gains rectification and elevation. 3. Every root soul must also study each of the Torah's 4 layers of teaching and uncover its unique part in Torah. 4. Few, if any, of the original souls completed all 613 mitzvot, nor the required study during their original lifetimes. Reincarnation provides souls with additional opportunities to complete their missions and the rectification of the world and themselves. 5. When a person dies, all the refined elements of their soul return to heaven. A new soul, built from the elements that were left unrectified, is then grafted from the stem soul and returned to this world. 6. As a general rule, our souls are reincarnations, but it is impossible to be conscious of or to accurately sense the experiences of our previous lifetimes. 7. Clues to the nature of our soul's unique task in this world can be gleaned from A. Our strengths and passions, B. Our weaknesses and struggles, and C. Our unique life circumstances. 8. The Kabbalistic view of reincarnation does not deny us our personal identity. Each of us is a complete and unique individual who is simultaneously and integrally linked to a far greater reality. Reincarnation ascribes greater importance to our existence and provides each of us a unique role within the overall human mission.
That was such a good class. I think it was my favorite class last week. Did you get to watch the recording, Jennifer?
I did, yeah.
Okay, that was really good. I know how the recording was, but like it felt like it was just like the material was like really clear. Do you guys agree, Alex, Ellie? Like it was like a difficult topic, reincarnation, but I felt that was extremely clear. I thought it was a great class.
Lesson 6. Life is short-ish. 1. Our exploration of death and the afterlife through the Torah's lens reduces our fear of unease, allowing us to consider our mortality without panic. 2. Some believe that because we eventually die, nothing is overly important. But Judaism insists that because we die, each moment of life is of supreme importance and should be devoted to matters of eternal relevance. Considering our mortality motivates us to focus on what really matters. 3. Our natural illusion of immortality spurs us to consider time as dispensable. We care more about wasted money than wasted time. Reflecting on life's finitude replaces this illusion with an urgency to take advantage of each moment. 4. We are designed to be productive beings. Retirement is not a Jewish concept. As our group powers wane, we should transition to mentoring, sharing our wisdom and experience, etc. 5. Before the sin of the tree of knowledge, the body was the soul's extension, and their desires were synced. Sin destroyed that dynamic, causing spiritual death, the misalignment of body and soul. Physical death is an outgrowth of spiritual death. 6. We rectify spiritual death by realigning everything with its purpose. ignoring the superficial layers of a thing, its body, and instead focusing on its inner truth and purpose solely. Upon completing this rectification, physical death will no longer be part of the human condition.
Okay, so the last three parts, these are parts we did not look at it inside, okay? That's when I said, okay, we're gonna stop here. When they set up the class, they made it as optional. I thought it'd be really nice to do what we just did, like do a full recap, right? Just to get like really the full picture of everything we've been saying the last 7 weeks since we skipped a week. We have, and it's not even 9:30. We're doing really good. Anybody want to share, feedback on the course as a whole? Could be constructive feedback, could be comments, questions, concerns.
No concerns at all.
It was great.
That was great. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you for coming. Vanya, what do you want to say?
I would want to add to life is too short.
Okay.
You remember when I just came to your house first time? It was on Friday, and I asked you if you ever had like bad thoughts about other people, because all of us are human beings, and sometimes we.
I don't remember, but go ahead.
Oh,
I don't remember, but go
do you
ahead.
remember this?
I don't.
You don't? But okay, I do, and this is the main point.
It's called selective memory, but go ahead.
Life is too short to keep hatred towards someone, to like keep being offended. Offended seem like to like keep it, to not to keep it, but to like save it up, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Instead of letting it go. Again, instead of like keeping this hatred or being offended, you should like let it go and reconcile it. Is the word?
Yeah, reconcile, like to make amends with the person, like instead of being upset the rest of your life and not
Sort forgive him.
Yeah. To make amends and move on.
And also, I would just rephrase what you said about what was it? Delay says 1 day before death, you need to repent. Is what you said, right?
Yeah.
So I would say life is too short to delay repentance.
Repentance. Right now.
Repentance, yeah.
You remind me of two things,
So
Vanya.
basically, you don't know how much time you're given, so you should do it like every day, before you go to bed or anything, because next day you may not wake up, you know what I mean?
God forbid.
Yeah, of course.
There's two things you reminded me of. Number one, so in the main book of Chabad thought called the Tanya, towards the end, so the author, the first Rebbe, the first leader of Chabad, he writes something interesting. He says, so we know everything is, we believe, by divine providence. God is the one who moves all the chess pieces, right? So let's say Reuben hits Shimon, okay? So then we say, well, God already planned it, and so essentially Reuben should be free of guilt because he didn't make a choice, right? It's all preordained. God already decided that. And then Shimon has to suck it up because it was preordained. He says, no. Why? This is the way it works. Shimon was going to get hurt. That's what God decided. But God has many messengers. And Reuven, so to speak, accepted the mission to hurt Shimon. But if it wasn't Reuven, it would have been something else or someone else. So we say, Shimon, the one who got hurt, he himself has to realize that this came from God and deal with it accordingly. But Reuven is responsible for healing him because Reuven is the one that, so to speak, took upon himself this mission. Right? So we don't say, well, he's off the hook because it was preordained. We say, no, well, it was preordained that Shimon should be hurt. But Reuben took it upon himself to be the one to be the vehicle to hurt Shimon. That's what the first thing. The second thing, we didn't speak about forgiveness in the class, did we? I don't think so, right? It's very important though.
I didn't reply anything like this.
So the Zohar says that, I think it was Rabbi Abba, one of the sages of the Talmud, that he saw someone that was saved from what was supposed to be his imminent death. He saw somebody sleeping, and there's a snake coming to bite him, and he suddenly turns, and the snake doesn't bite him. And he saw a whole bunch of things like this with the same person. So when this person woke up, he says, "What do you do that's so special that God is saving you in a miraculous way?" So the person says, I don't know, I'm a very simple guy. There's one thing though that I make sure to do every day. Before I go to sleep, I make sure to forgive anybody that wronged me during the day. Right? And if you remember when we had the first text in last class about reincarnation, the text is supposed to say before you go to sleep, it starts with Hareini Moichel, right? I forgive anybody that wronged me. We're supposed to do that every day except for Shabbat and the holidays. It's based on that story of the Zohar. That is, before you go to bed, you're supposed to clean the slate. And those are the two things that you made me think of, Anya. You hear?
Yeah, can you repeat, please?
Repeat the second part or the first part, or both?
Yeah, I heard it was Zohar, but I didn't hear which.
The story is there's a rabbi who sees somebody who was supposed to die in different ways. Like, the house collapses, but he got out of the house in the nick of time, just before the house collapsed. He was supposed to be bit by a snake, and he turns over, and the snake doesn't bite him. You understand?
No, but what did you ask me?
Did you understand the stories?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure you got it. It's hard when you're not here in person. People that are here, you see them nodding, you have, there's like a feedback here.
Yeah, more interaction.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, I'll cut the live stream. It's been a pleasure. It's bittersweet, the end of the course, but it was really, really nice. Thank you very much for joining online and in person. And God willing, we won't have to experience death in our lives in a very, very long time, if not ever. Of course, we hope and pray for the imminent coming of Mashiach, when death will be swallowed up forever. And that point, at the end of the class, which we didn't do in the video, how rectifying death makes death disappear, that's a very mature understanding of what this world is about. Everything that we experience as wrong, hurtful, painful is the same point. It's all the obscuration, the hiding of God's light. If God's light would be revealed, it would all be revealed good. What's explaining something that's not good is God's light, it's hidden. You can't experience it, we don't appreciate it, we can't understand it. Death being not existing anymore is the alignment of the spiritual and the physical. It's taking away the concealment and seeing things for what they are. Just as when God created Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava, there was no death until they ate from the tree of knowledge. We're just reverting back to that stage, right? In other words, we don't say that Messianic times is some sort of like la-la land. No, we want to go back to the way things were at the beginning, right? We want to take away the concealment and go back to that point of godly awareness, right? To have that God consciousness instead of having the physical world and the physical body hiding it over them. L'chaim, thank you for joining. I cut the live.